Daniel Hayes stood at the podium in the great chamber of the Galactic Council. Around him, aliens of every shape and size filled the massive room. Some looked like insects. Others glowed with strange light. A few resembled creatures from Earth's oceans. All of them were watching the human ambassador with interest. Daniel held a data tablet in his hands. On it was Earth's formal request to join the United Defense Coalition. Humanity wanted to be part of the galaxy's military alliance. They wanted to help protect trade routes and defend peaceful worlds from pirates and hostile forces. The chamber fell silent as Daniel began to speak. His voice was steady and clear. Members of the Galactic Council, I come before you today representing the people of Earth. We have traveled the stars for nearly 100 years. In that time, we have learned much about the galaxy and our place in it. We have met many of you and traded with your worlds. Now we ask to stand beside you as allies in the defense of peace and order. He pressed a button on his tablet. A hologram appeared above the podium, showing Earth's fleet. 53 ships hung in space, their hulls gleaming under distant stars. Our fleet may be small compared to yours, but our commitment is strong. We offer our ships, our courage, and our determination to help maintain security in this sector. For a moment, no one spoke. Then a sound filled the chamber. It took Daniel a moment to recognize it. Laughter. The Vrexian ambassador stood up. He was nearly 8 feet tall, with a body like a massive insect. His mandibles clicked together as he spoke. The humans want to join our military alliance? They who have barely left their own solar system? They who still fight wars among themselves on their own planet? More laughter echoed through the chamber. Daniel felt his face grow hot, but he kept his expression calm. A being of pure energy, contained in a crystal shell, spoke next. This was the Corthan representative. Look at their fleet. 50 ships. We have single worlds with more defensive platforms than their entire navy. What could they possibly offer us? Daniel tried to respond, but another voice cut him off. The Zephrati ambassador, who looked like a graceful dolphin standing upright, rose from her seat. Perhaps we should not dismiss them so quickly. Humanity has shown great ability to adapt and learn. In just 100 years, they have achieved faster-than-light travel and established colonies on multiple worlds. 100 years? The Vrexian laughed again. My species was crossing the galaxy when their world was still frozen in an ice age. No, this request is foolish. Humanity is not ready. They are children playing with toys they barely understand. The Corthan delegate agreed. Let them grow up first. Let them prove they can govern themselves without war. Let them build a real fleet. Then perhaps in 500 years we will consider their application again. Daniel's companion, Lisa Warren, stood beside him. She was a military officer, young but smart. She whispered to him quietly, Sir, we need to say something. We cannot let them dismiss us like this. But before Daniel could speak, the vote was called. The chamber's central display lit up with the results. 47 species voted. Only 3 voted yes: the Zephrati, the Malari, and the Keepers. 3 votes out of 47. The request was denied. Daniel gathered his papers slowly. His face showed nothing, but inside he felt the sting of rejection. As the human delegation walked out of the chamber, aliens whispered to each other. Some looked at the humans with pity. Others smiled with amusement. One young Corthan diplomat laughed openly. Outside the chamber, Captain Jacob Pierce was waiting. He was the commander of the UES Valiant, one of Earth's newest warships. His face was lined with years of service. How bad was it? He asked. Daniel took a deep breath. They laughed at us, Jacob. In front of the entire council, they actually laughed. Lisa checked her tablet. Her face went pale. Sir, it gets worse. The Vrexian delegation just sent the recording of the meeting to the Galactic News Network. They are calling us the species that thought it was ready. Jacob's expression hardened. Admiral Carter wants to speak with all fleet captains in 1 hour. She says it is urgent. The news reached Earth within hours. In military headquarters around the planet, officers watched the footage of the council meeting. They saw their ambassador standing alone while aliens mocked humanity's offer of friendship and alliance. Admiral Helen Carter sat in her office at Earth Defense Command. She was a veteran of 40 years of service. She had seen humanity go from primitive rockets to ships that could cross light years in days. She had commanded the first Earth vessel to make contact with alien life. Now she watched as those same aliens treated her species like ignorant children. Her assistant, Commander Paul Jennings, stood nearby. His face was red with anger. "Admiral, the Joint Chiefs are demanding a response. Some want us to conduct military exercises near Council space. Show them what our ships can really do." Helen shook her head slowly. "No, that would only prove their point. They would say we are aggressive and dangerous." She stood and walked to a large star map on her wall. It showed human space and the surrounding sectors. Earth's 53 known ships were marked with blue icons. But perhaps it is time we showed them something else. Something they will not expect. "Ma'am." "We adapt, Paul. It is what we do best. It is what has kept us alive through ice ages and wars and plagues. We adapt, and we survive." That night, encrypted messages flashed through space. They reached every human ship, every military base, every hidden outpost that the Council did not know about. The orders were simple but strange. On the UES horizon, patrolling the outer rim, Captain Susan Blake read her orders twice. She turned to her first officer, Greg Foster. "Are they serious about this?" "Yes, Captain. All fleet vessels are to begin Protocol Phantom immediately." Susan leaned back in her command chair. A smile slowly crossed her face. "Well then, let us give the Council something to really think about." Across human space, similar conversations happened on every ship. On the UES Defiant, Commander Linda Shaw briefed her crew on the new mission. On a research ship called Newton's Pride, scientists began working with engineers on strange modifications to their systems. At the Council headquarters on the planet Zentari Prime, the Vrexian ambassador celebrated with his staff. "Did you see their faces? The humans actually believed they deserved to sit with us." His aide seemed less certain. "Ambassador, the Keepers voted for them. The silent ones rarely get involved in such matters. Perhaps there is something we missed." "The Keepers are sentimental fools," the ambassador replied. "They see potential in every primitive species that learns to build a rocket. It means nothing." But in their ancient chambers, the 3 Keepers who had voted yes gathered in silence. They communicated without words, sharing thoughts and feelings. "They will surprise the Council," the eldest Keeper finally said. "Yes," agreed another. "The question is whether anyone will learn the lesson." By midnight on Earth, Admiral Carter stood in a secret command center deep underground. Holographic displays showed the positions of all human vessels. Daniel Hayes had returned from Zentari Prime. He still wore his formal ambassador suit. "Are we really doing this, Helen?" he asked quietly. The Admiral nodded. "We tried it their way. We followed their rules. We asked politely. They laughed at us. So now we show them what happens when you mock the wrong species." "And if this fails?" Helen looked at him with steady eyes. "Then at least they will remember us. But it will not fail. We have been preparing for this possibility since we first met them. We just never thought we would need it so soon." She pressed a button. "Send the signal to all vessels. Phase 1 begins at dawn." The message went out, traveling faster than light to every human ship and station. Something was about to happen that the galaxy had never seen before. something that would make the Council's laughter seem like a distant memory. In the Council's monitoring stations, the night shift watched their screens. They tracked thousands of ships from hundreds of species. Everything appeared normal. Human vessels showed up clearly on their sensors, 53 ships scattered across a dozen star systems. But appearances, as the Council was about to learn, could be very deceiving. The last entry in the security log that night was routine. All human vessels accounted for, all positions confirmed, everything normal. Officer Zix then had 3 eyes. This made him perfect for monitoring the many screens in the Council intelligence station. He could watch multiple data streams at once, tracking thousands of ships as they moved through space. He worked the night shift, which was usually quiet. Most ships traveled during the day cycles of their home worlds. At night, there was little to watch, except automated cargo vessels and long-distance travelers. At exactly 3:47 in the morning, he noticed something strange. The UES Horizon, a human warship patrolling the outer rim, suddenly disappeared from his sensors. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, just gone. Zix then's middle eye focused on the empty space where the ship had been. Sensor errors were rare but possible. He marked it for review and continued his work. 5 minutes later, another human ship vanished. The UES Defiant disappeared while traveling between 2 star systems. Then the Newton's Pride. Then 3 more ships, one after another. By 4 in the morning, Zix then was standing up. All 3 of his eyes locked onto his displays. His hands were shaking as he reached for the emergency communication panel. "This is Station Delta 9, calling Council Command. We have a major problem. Human vessels are disappearing from our sensors." The response came quickly. "Delta 9, check your equipment. Run full system diagnostics." "Already done, sir. My sensors are working perfectly. I am tracking ships from 47 other species with no problems. Only the human ships are vanishing." Within minutes, Senior Coordinator Ventar arrived at the station. He was a Corthan, his energy form glowing with irritation at being woken up early. "Show me what you have," he ordered. Zix then brought up the main display. "In the past 30 minutes, we have lost contact with 31 human vessels. They are not just gone from regular sensors. They have disappeared from quantum trackers, gravity sensors, everything. It is as if they stopped existing." Ventar's energy form flickered, the Corthan version of a frown. "Show me their last known positions." The display updated. Red dots marked where each ship had last been detected. They were scattered everywhere. Some had been in deep space, others near stations or colonies. There was no pattern. "Could this be equipment failure on their ships?" Ventar asked. "Maybe a virus affecting their systems?" "Ships do not just disappear," Zix then replied. "Even if every system failed, their hulls would still show up on our sensors. Metal and mass do not vanish." By 6 in the morning, the situation had reached the Council's highest levels. Ambassador Crixthal, the Vrexian who had laughed at Earth's petition, was called from his bed. His good mood from the previous day was completely gone. "How many ships?" he demanded. 47 vessels, Ventar reported. "Every human military ship larger than a small patrol craft. All gone." "And their smaller ships?" "Those are vanishing too. 6 minutes ago, their last frigate disappeared. Now we can only detect civilian transports and space station support vessels. Their entire military fleet has vanished." Crixthal's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign he was upset. "What about their monitoring stations? Their sensor posts?" "All offline or destroyed. We detected brief energy bursts at 17 locations. The signatures matched demolition charges. Then the stations went dark." The Rexian felt a chill run through his body. "They did this on purpose." "It appears so, Ambassador." "Get me Ambassador Hayes immediately." But finding Daniel Hayes was not easy. The human embassy on Zentari Prime was nearly empty. Most of the staff had already left. The ambassador himself had departed on a transport 12 hours earlier, well before the fleet began disappearing. Lisa Warren had stayed behind to handle final business. She stood in the embassy's main hall when Crixthal arrived with council security forces. "Where is your ambassador?" the Vrexian demanded. "Traveling back to Earth, as is his right," Lisa answered calmly. "He left after yesterday's council session. And your fleet? Where has it gone?" "I do not know what you mean, Ambassador." Crixthal stepped closer. His huge form towered over her. "Do not play games with me, human. Your military ships have disappeared. All of them. Explain this." Lisa met his gaze without fear. "With respect, Ambassador, our fleet movements are not your business. We were denied membership in the Council, remember? That means we are not required to follow Council protocols about where our ships go." "This is not about protocols," Crixthal hissed. "This is about 47 warships that have somehow hidden from every sensor system in Council space. That kind of stealth technology should not exist. Where did you get it?" "I am a diplomat, not an engineer, but I can tell you this. Humanity has been in space for nearly a century. Perhaps you made a mistake in assuming we spent that time doing nothing." Before Crixthal could respond, his communicator buzzed. It was Ventar again. "Ambassador, we have another situation. Human civilian vessels are leaving Council space. Trade ships, passenger transports, even students at our universities are being recalled." Lisa smiled slightly. "If you will excuse me, Ambassador, I must prepare for the embassy staff to leave. We have been given 72 hours to evacuate Council space." "We gave no such order." "No," Lisa agreed. "We gave that order ourselves. Effective immediately, humanity is ending all diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. We will be leaving now." She turned and walked away. Crixthal stood in the empty embassy hall, surrounded by humans packing equipment and files. They moved with smooth efficiency, as if they had practiced this many times. The same scene played out across Council space. Human ambassadors, traders, scientists, and students were all withdrawing. They returned to human systems with a coordination that showed careful planning. On the Council High Command observation deck, Supreme Coordinator Talmar watched the updates. His skin showed colors of deep concern. "They planned this," he said quietly. "The petition yesterday, the public rejection, everything. They expected us to refuse them." His aide, a younger officer named Pelrin, seemed confused. "Why would they want to be rejected?" A voice came from the shadows. "Because it gave them an excuse to disappear." Both officers turned to see one of the keepers emerging from the darkness. The ancient being moved slowly, barely visible even in the bright lights. "You knew this would happen," Talmar said. "We suspected," the keeper replied. "Humanity is young, but they understand something that older species have forgotten. Being visible makes you vulnerable. The galaxy has watched them for decades. We have mapped their systems, counted their ships, measured their strength. And humanity has known this the entire time." "So they made themselves invisible," Pelrin said, finally understanding. "But why?" The keeper was silent for a long moment. "Perhaps they are planning nothing. Or perhaps they are planning everything. The question you should ask is not where they have gone, but what they will do now that no one is watching." On the edge of Council space, the last visible human military ship prepared to vanish. It was a small corvette called the Wanderer. Captain Kevin Turner stood on the bridge, watching a countdown timer. "Message transmitted," his communications officer reported. "And the others?" "Already gone, sir. We are the last." Kevin nodded. "Then let us join them. Activate the shroud." The ship's hull seemed to shimmer. Then it faded, becoming see-through, then invisible. Within seconds, it had vanished from every sensor watching it. The message reached Council Command 3 minutes later. Ventar opened it, expecting threats or demands. Instead, he found only a brief statement. To the Galactic Council, humanity thanks you for your consideration of our petition. We have decided that we are not yet ready for membership in your organization. We will focus on our own development. We will contact you again when we believe we meet your standards. Please do not attempt to locate our vessels or enter human space without permission. We wish the Council well. Signed, Admiral Helen Carter, Earth United Fleet Command. Ventar read it 3 times, looking for hidden meanings. He found only polite words and quiet firmness. They are gone, Zix then said quietly. All of them. 53 military vessels, 642 civilian ships, and about 40,000 human personnel, all withdrawn from Council space in less than 12 hours. And we have no idea where they went or how they are hiding, Ventar added. Crixthal stormed into the command center. Have you found them? No. Ambassador, then find them! Send scouts, search teams, everything we have. But even as he gave orders, Crixthal felt something new. Uncertainty. The humans had seemed so weak, so easy to dismiss. Yet in one night, they had done something no other species had managed. They had made themselves invisible to the most advanced sensor network in the galaxy. In the council chamber, an emergency session was called. Representatives from all member species gathered. Voices were raised in confusion and concern. The Zephrati ambassador spoke calmly. Perhaps we acted too quickly yesterday. Humanity has clearly shown abilities we did not expect. They have shown stealth technology, Crixthal argued. Nothing more. It changes nothing about whether they are ready for membership. Does it not? The Keeper's voice cut through the arguments. They came seeking alliance. We rejected them with mockery. In response, they have shown us that our sensors and monitoring systems are blind to them when they wish it. I suggest we think carefully about what message they intended to send. And what message is that? Crixthal demanded. The Keeper seemed to grow darker and more solid. That they do not need us as much as we might need them. The chamber fell silent. The meaning was clear. Somewhere in the darkness of space, humanity's fleet moved unseen and untracked. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council faced a species they could not monitor or control, and they had no one to blame but themselves. 3 weeks after the vanishing, strange things began happening across the galaxy. Captain Susan Blake stood on the bridge of her ship, the Horizon. They were 50 light-years from the nearest Council sensor station, floating in the darkness between stars. Her ship was part of a network of human vessels that stayed in contact, using technology the Council did not know existed. "Status report," she ordered. Her first officer, Greg Foster, looked up from his console. "The mining drones have collected enough raw materials. The factory ships say they will have new sensor platforms ready in 2 days." Susan nodded. For 3 weeks, the human fleet had been busy. While the Council searched for them, they had been building, adapting, and preparing. Plans that Admiral Carter had made years ago were finally being used. "Captain," the communications officer called out, "we are getting updates from the Mercury network. Several Council scout ships have been detected near the outer edges of human space." "Let them search," Susan said with a small smile. "They will find exactly what we want them to find." On Earth, Admiral Carter stood in a new command center, buried 3 miles underground. The facility had been built in secret over 5 years, using resources taken from dozens of civilian projects. Now it served as the control center for an operation the Council could not imagine. "Admiral, we have confirmation from all sector groups," Commander Paul Jennings reported. "Phase 2 is complete. We are fully dark." Helen studied the massive display in front of her. It showed not where human vessels actually were, but where the Council believed human systems to be. The difference was shocking. Nearly 40% of humanity's real infrastructure did not appear on Council maps. "How long before they figure it out?" she asked. Paul checked his tablet. "Intelligence thinks at least 6 months, maybe longer. We have been giving them old survey data for years. The systems they think are our main colonies are actually decoy stations with just enough activity to show up on their long-range scans." "And our real colonies?" "Hidden in nebulas, behind radiation barriers, or in systems we told them were not livable. The science teams did excellent work making those places look worthless." Helen allowed herself a rare smile. "Dr. Morgan's team?" "Yes, ma'am. His sensor technology is working better than expected. Council ships are passing within 10 light-years of our facilities and detecting nothing." The door opened and Daniel Hayes entered. He looked tired but determined. He had been in constant communication with the few remaining human contacts in Council space. "Admiral," he greeted her, "we have a situation developing." Helen gestured for him to continue. "The Vrexian Empire is getting nervous. Crixthal has been arguing for military action. He wants to send fleets into human space to find our vessels by force." "What is stopping them?" "The Keepers, surprisingly. They have invoked old rules preventing military action against species that have not broken any laws. Since we have not done anything illegal, just disappeared, the Council cannot authorize an invasion." Helen thought about this. "The Keepers are protecting us?" "More like they are following their principles. But yes, effectively. However, Crixthal is pushing for economic punishment. He wants member species to stop all trade with human systems." "That might actually help us," Paul noted. "The fewer Council eyes on our trade routes, the better." "Maybe," Daniel agreed. "But there is another issue. The Corthan Collective has been detecting strange energy signatures in sectors where they think no one operates. They are starting to suspect we are not just hiding. They think we are actively doing something out there." Helen and Daniel looked at each other. "They are not wrong," Helen said finally. "Show him." Paul brought up a new display. It showed a 3-dimensional map of space around Council territory. Scattered throughout were small symbols representing human vessels and installations. There were far more than the Council had ever known about. "This is our actual fleet," Paul explained. 147 military vessels, not 53. The ships the Council knew about were only our newest, most visible ones. The rest have been operating in secret for decades. Daniel's eyes went wide. "You have been hiding this for decades?" "Ever since first contact," Helen confirmed. "When we met the Council, Earth's leaders made a decision. We would show them a version of ourselves that seemed harmless and manageable. Meanwhile, our real military and industrial power would develop in secret." "Why?" "Because we learned something in our first year of contact," Helen said quietly. "The Council does not trust species it cannot understand or control. If we had shown our full strength from the start, they would have tried to stop us or demanded we join their military under their command. Both options were unacceptable." She pulled up another image. It showed a sleek vessel unlike anything the Council had seen. "This is the real Horizon-class ship, what Susan commands now. These ships are 3 generations more advanced than the vessels we showed the Council. We have weapons they do not know about, shields they cannot detect, and engines that can outrun anything in their fleets." Daniel sat down heavily. "So the Council session, the rejection, was exactly what we needed," Helen finished. "It gave us the perfect reason to withdraw, to go dark, to stop pretending to be less than we are. But what is the goal? We cannot hide forever." Helen's face became serious. "We are not hiding, Daniel. We are building. In 6 months, humanity will have a fleet of over 300 vessels, all superior to Council designs. We will have colonies throughout this sector that the Council does not know exist. We will have an economy that does not depend on their trade, and a military that does not need their protection. And then? Then we will see if the Council wants to treat us as equals rather than children. But this time, we will negotiate from a position they cannot ignore. On Zentari Prime, Council intelligence was reaching the same conclusion. Ventar stood before Supreme Coordinator Talmar. His energy form pulsed with worry. They have been deceiving us from the beginning. Talmar's skin colors showed doubt. That is a serious claim. But true, I believe. We have analyzed every interaction with humanity over 50 years. The problems become clear once you look for them. He brought up a series of reports. 7 years ago, humans said they were struggling to establish a colony in the Kepler system because of resource shortages. Yet our scouts detected industrial activity consistent with a fully working complex. Perhaps they found new resources. In 3 months? Impossible. No, they lied. The colony was already established. They just wanted us to think they were weaker than they were. He pulled up more data. The same pattern appears dozens of times. They underreported industrial capacity. They described failed colony attempts in systems where we now detect activity. They called military exercises civilian transport operations. Talmar studied the evidence. His colors darkened. If you are right, if they have been lying for decades, then we have no idea what humanity's real strength is. Exactly, Supreme Coordinator. The 53 vessels that vanished, I do not think they are hiding. I think they returned to wherever the rest of their fleet has been all along. How large a fleet? Ventar's form flickered with uncertainty. Unknown, but based on the industrial signs we detected and ignored over the years, potentially hundreds of vessels. Both of them felt the weight of this realization. The Galactic Council, which thought it knew everything about every species, had been systematically fooled by the species it had most dismissed. What do you recommend? Talmar asked. We need to find them. Send long-range scouts into deep space beyond our normal sensor range. Use independent contractors if necessary. Species outside the Council who will not be recognized as our agents. And if we find them? Then at least we will know what we face. Right now, we are blind. But finding humanity's hidden fleet proved harder than Ventar imagined. Every scout ship sent into deep space returned with nothing. Every probe launched into unexplored sectors found no trace of human activity. It was as if the entire species had vanished into another dimension. The truth was both simpler and more complex. Humanity had not gone far. Most of their vessels operated within 50 light-years of Council space. But they moved constantly, using gravity wells to hide their engine signatures. Operating in regions the Council had surveyed long ago and dismissed as empty, they had learned to think like prey, always moving, never making patterns, using the Council's own assumptions against them. Captain Linda Shaw of the Defiant showed this new way of operating. Her ship prowled the edges of a massive dust cloud, sensors recording everything while giving off almost nothing. Her crew had become experts at what they called shadow running, moving through space while leaving no trace. Contact, her sensor officer reported. Council scout ship, Corthan design, bearing 273 Mark V, range 3 light minutes. Are we detected? No, Captain. Their sensors are passing right over us. Linda watched the distant ship on her display. Let them pass. Record their search pattern. Intelligence will want to know how they are trying to find us. As the scout ship moved away, blind to the Defiant's presence, less than a light minute from its hull, Linda felt grim satisfaction. The Council had called humanity primitive. They had laughed at Earth's petition. Now they were learning that sometimes the prey you dismiss is actually a hunter waiting for the right moment to show its teeth. And humanity's moment was coming soon. In deep space, on a hidden station, human engineers worked on projects the Council could not imagine. New weapon systems, advanced shields, engines that bent the rules of physics in ways that should not be possible. Dr. Peter Morgan watched his team assemble a prototype sensor array. It was 10 times more sensitive than anything the Council had, and it left no detectable signature. "How long until we can deploy these across the fleet?" he asked his lead engineer. "2 months for full production, but we can start installing them on key vessels next week." Peter nodded. "Do it. The Admiral wants our advantages protected. Every edge we have buys us more time." "Time for what, sir?" Peter smiled. "Time to become so strong that the Council has no choice but to accept us as equals, or to realize they made a terrible mistake in making us their competitors instead of their allies." Across human space, in hidden bases and secret facilities, similar work continued. Humanity had been dismissed. They had been mocked. They had been underestimated. They would not make the same mistake the Council had. They would not assume their advantage would last forever. They would build, prepare, and strengthen themselves while they had the chance. Because when they emerged from the shadows, they wanted the galaxy to see them not as children playing with ships, but as a force that could not be ignored. It started small. A missing trade convoy here, a disabled pirate vessel there, refugees rescued from dangerous systems. At first, no one connected these incidents. But as weeks turned into 2 months since humanity's disappearance, a pattern emerged that the Council could no longer ignore. Ambassador Crixthal stormed into an emergency council session. His mandibles clicked with fury. "The humans are making us look like fools!" Supreme Coordinator Talmar kept his composure, though his skin colors showed irritation. "Explain." 6 incidents in the past week alone, the Vrexian said, pulling up reports. A merchant fleet from Telluria was stranded when their engines failed in the Outer Rim, a region where we have no patrol ships. Someone rescued them, fixed their drives, and vanished before they could be identified. The merchant said the rescuers spoke in Earth's language. He switched to another report. 4 days ago, a Zephrati science station detected massive energy readings in a supposedly dead star system. By the time our scouts arrived, they found a fully working mining operation. Abandoned but clearly recent, the equipment designs match human engineering. "Mining operations are not illegal," the Molari representative pointed out. "No, but they surveyed and started mining in a system we had marked as explored and empty. How did they know there were resources there when our surveys missed them? Unless..." Crixthal paused. "Unless they had already surveyed it themselves years ago and kept that information secret." Talmar's colors shifted to deep purple. Concern. "What else?" "Yesterday, a pirate fleet that had been attacking ships in the 6th sector for months was found drifting in space. All their weapons were disabled. Their crews were locked in their own prison cells. Their stolen cargo was arranged neatly for recovery. No witnesses, no sensor records of who did it. Just a message in standard galactic language. The stars belong to those who protect them, not prey upon them." "That sounds like something humans would say," the Zephrati ambassador noted. Her tone was almost admiring. "Yes!" Crixthal's voice rose. "They are operating throughout Council space or near it. They perform actions that make them look like heroes while making us appear useless. Trade routes we could not protect. Pirates we could not catch. Resources we could not find. And all done by a species we rejected 3 months ago." Ventar entered the chamber. His Corthan form pulsed urgently. "Supreme Coordinator, we have another situation. The Vrex-Carthy border dispute has been resolved." Silence fell over the chamber. The Vrexian and Carthy peoples had been fighting over territory for 5 years. The conflict had resisted all Council attempts to solve it. "How?" Talmar asked carefully. "Unknown. Both sides received identical messages this morning. The messages contained detailed survey data of the disputed system. Data showing that the system actually has 2 habitable worlds, not one as we believed." The message suggested that rather than fight over one world, they should split the system and each colonize one planet. And they agreed? Both sides have already signed preliminary agreements. They want to know who provided the survey data. Crixthal's mandibles clicked rapidly. Let me guess. The survey used methods more advanced than our technology. Yes, Ambassador. And the message was signed, "A friend to peace." The humans, Crixthal hissed. They are trying to undermine our authority. But the keeper who had been sitting silently spoke. Its ancient voice carried weight. Or they are showing what they could contribute if you had accepted their petition. Tell me, Coordinator, how many of these incidents have actually harmed Council interests? Talmar thought about it. None directly. But the implications... The implications are that a species you dismissed as primitive is solving problems you could not. Is your pride so great that you hate them for doing good simply because it makes you look bad? The chamber erupted in arguments. Talmar raised his hand for silence. Keeper, what are you suggesting? I am suggesting that perhaps the Council acted too quickly. Humanity asked to join your military alliance. You refused. Now they are showing you, through actions rather than words, what you rejected. They are showing off, Crixthal said. No, the Keeper replied. They are showing you who they are when you are not watching. And you should ask yourselves this question. What kind of species becomes more helpful, not less, after being publicly humiliated? In the Colorado Command Center, Admiral Carter watched the Council's internal communications with satisfaction. Their technology was not perfect, but it caught enough to know that humanity's plan was working. The border resolution is getting major attention, Paul reported. 3 other species have already asked for similar survey help. Deny them, Helen said immediately. We are not trying to become the galaxy's problem solvers. We are making a point, which is that we operate by our own rules and principles, not theirs. We help when and where we choose, not because someone asks or demands it. Daniel entered with Dr. Peter Morgan. The scientist looked tired but excited. Admiral, we have completed analysis of Council sensor technology, Peter said, pulling up displays. It is impressive, but has a basic flaw. It is designed to detect known technologies using known patterns. Our ships avoid detection not because we are more advanced, but because we built our systems from the ground up to work on different principles. Explain, Helen requested. Think of it like this. Their sensors are listening for specific songs. We are not singing louder or softer. We are using completely different music. They will never hear us because they do not know what to listen for. Can they adapt? Eventually, if they get enough data. Which is why we must be careful about direct contact. Every time one of our ships gets close to their sensors, they learn a little more. Daniel frowned. So what you are saying is our advantage has a time limit. Everything does, Peter agreed. But I estimate we have at least 2 years before they understand enough to develop countermeasures. By then, we will have the next generation ready. Helen turned back to the main display. 2 years. Plenty of time for Phase 3. Which is? Daniel asked. We remind them that we do not need their permission to be important. We are going to start establishing open presence in unclaimed systems, places the Council knows about but has not bothered with. We will build stations, establish colonies, and dare them to tell us we cannot. That is aggressive. Yes, but we are past the point of being quiet. We tried quiet. They laughed at us. Now we show them the alternative to having us as allies. Which is? Helen's smile was cold. Having us as competitors. In the Outer Rim, Captain Jacob Pierce oversaw construction of humanity's first openly declared deep space station since the vanishing. The facility was massive, 3 miles across when finished, with docking for 100 ships and facilities for 20,000 people. Sir, we are getting long-range scans, his communications officer reported. Looks like a council observation ship, staying well outside weapons range. Let them watch, Jacob said calmly. In fact, send them our construction plans. Let them see exactly what we are building. Sir, we are done hiding. This station is in unclaimed space. It breaks no council laws. We have every right to be here. If they want to object, they can do so officially. Otherwise, they can watch and wonder what else we are building that they cannot see. The message and plans were sent. Within hours, they reached Council Command. Ventar stared at the data in disbelief. This facility, he said slowly, is more advanced than our primary military bases. The shields alone are beyond our current abilities. And they just sent us the plans? Talmar asked. Yes, they are not hiding their technology anymore. This is a message. We can build this openly. Imagine what we are building in secret. Talmar's colors shifted through several emotions before settling on resigned blue. Set up a communication channel. I want to speak with Admiral Carter. Sir, it is time we faced reality. Humanity is not going to disappear or become less important just because we wish it. We need to understand what they want. The secure channel was established within hours. Admiral Helen Carter appeared on the display. Her expression was professional but firm. Supreme Coordinator, she greeted him. Admiral Carter, on behalf of the Council, I want to open talks about recent events. Recent events? Helen's tone was carefully neutral. I am not sure what you mean. Humanity is simply developing its infrastructure according to galactic law. Admiral, please. We both know what is happening. Your species has been operating beyond our sensors for months, conducting activities throughout this sector, now establishing open presence in unclaimed space. The Council would like to understand your intentions. Our intentions are simple, Coordinator. We intend to ensure humanity's security and success. We intend to act according to our principles, helping those who need help and opposing those who threaten innocence. We intend to take our place among the stars, with or without the Council's blessing. And if the Council were to reconsider its previous decision about your membership? Helen paused. Talmar could see calculation in her eyes. That would depend entirely on the terms. We will not put our fleet under Council command. We will not allow Council vessels to patrol our space without permission. We will not accept membership as junior partners to be looked down on and controlled. Those are major demands. They are not demands, Coordinator. They are conditions for alliance between equals. If the Council can accept that, truly accept it, not just in words, then we can talk. If not, then humanity will continue on its own path. Talmar's colors showed resignation. I will present your position to the Council. You do that. But understand this, Coordinator. 3 months ago, we asked permission to join your alliance. You laughed at us. We do not need your permission anymore. Now you must decide if you want us as friends, competitors, or strangers operating in your space without your knowledge, because those are your only options. The communication ended. Talmar stared at the blank display. Around him, the observation deck was silent. She is right, he said finally. We did this to ourselves. Ventar's form pulsed with reluctant agreement. What do we do? We learned the lesson that species before us learned the hard way. Never underestimate someone you have humiliated. They will either break, or they will come back stronger than you imagined. Humanity chose the latter. And now? Now we face the consequences of our mockery. And we hope that humanity is as kind in victory as they were dignified in defeat. The council chamber was more crowded than it had been in years. Every member species had sent their primary ambassadors. Several non-member observers had been granted permission to attend. The topic was too important to handle through normal channels. Supreme Coordinator Talmar opened the session with unusual formality. Representatives of the Galactic Council, we gather today to discuss what many are calling the human question. For 4 months, humanity has operated independently of Council oversight. They have built infrastructure, conducted operations, and shown abilities that have completely changed our understanding of this species. He pulled up a display showing humanity's known installations. At least those they had allowed the Council to discover. 23 stations, 47 colonies, and an estimated 300 military vessels. The numbers were shocking for a species that was supposed to have barely 50 ships. "This is what we know they have," Talmar continued. "Intelligence believes their actual assets may be much higher. Today we must decide how to respond." Krixthal stood immediately. "The response should be obvious. They have deceived us, operated secretly in our space, and built a military force that rivals many council members. This is exactly the kind of dangerous behavior we tried to prevent by rejecting their membership." "Or," the Zephrati ambassador said, "it is proof that we were wrong to reject them. In 4 months they have accomplished what most species take decades to achieve. They have solved conflicts we could not solve, protected ships we could not defend, and built facilities we did not think possible. Perhaps our mistake was not their readiness, but how we saw them." The chamber erupted in debate. The Korthan representative argued for economic punishment. The Molari delegate suggested immediate talks. Smaller species voiced everything from fear to respect. Finally, the keeper spoke, and silence fell. "You speak of what humanity has done," the ancient being said, "but you miss the more important question. Why they have done it this way? They did not attack you. They did not threaten you. They simply withdrew. And in withdrawing, they showed you what you lost by rejecting them. This is not the action of a dangerous species. This is the action of a proud one." "Pride can be dangerous," Krixthal argued. "Yes," the keeper agreed, "but so can short-sightedness. You mocked them, dismissed their achievements, and laughed at their petition. They could have responded with anger or violence. Instead, they responded with skill. They showed you that your dismissal was your loss, not theirs. I ask you this: which is more dangerous? A species that attacks when humiliated, or one that calmly proves you wrong?" Talmar raised his hand for silence. "Regardless of philosophy, we must address practical matters. Admiral Carter has said that humanity would consider membership if offered as equals, not subordinates. The question before this council is whether we are willing to accept those terms." "Unacceptable," Krixthal said immediately. "It sets a bad example. Every species will demand equal terms." "Perhaps they should," the Molari representative said quietly. "Perhaps our mistake has been organizing this council as a hierarchy rather than a true alliance of equals." The debate continued for hours. Finally, Talmar called for a vote. The question was simple. Should the Council extend a new invitation to humanity, offering full membership with equal status and no requirement to put their military under Council command? The vote was close. 29 in favor, 18 against. But it passed. On Earth, Admiral Carter received the news in her command center. Daniel Hayes stood beside her, reading the Council's official statement. "They are offering everything we asked for," he said with surprise in his voice. "Full membership, no military subordination, equal voting rights." The keeper personally endorsed the invitation. Helen nodded slowly, reading through the details. "And the catch?" "No catch, apparently. Though reading between the lines, I think they are worried about what we might become if we remain outside their structure completely." "They should be," Paul muttered. Helen gave him a look. "This is not about making them worried. It never was." She turned to her team. "Gather the senior staff. We need to discuss this seriously." 2 hours later, the conference room held Earth's most senior military and civilian leaders. The debate was as intense as the one in the council chamber had been. "We should refuse," General Martin Hayes argued. "We have the advantage now. Why give it up?" "Because isolation is not strength," Daniel replied. "We have made our point." Now we have a chance to join the galactic community on our terms, not theirs. Is that not what we wanted? We wanted respect, Captain Susan Blake said through a holographic link from the horizon. We have that now. The question is whether we trust them to keep it. Helen listened to all sides before speaking. Let me be clear about something. This was never about revenge or proving we were better. It was about ensuring humanity's security and dignity. The Council treated us as children because we let them see us as children. We corrected that mistake. Now they are offering us what we wanted 4 months ago, but on better terms. So we accept? Paul asked. Not immediately, Helen said. We negotiate. We clarify exactly what equal status means. We ensure our independence is protected. And we make sure they understand that if they try to go back on these terms, we will simply withdraw again, and next time, we will not be as gentle about making our point. The negotiations took 3 weeks. Human representatives met with council mediators in neutral space, working through every detail of the proposed membership. The discussions were professional but firm on both sides. Finally, the terms were set. Humanity would join the Galactic Council as a full member with equal voting rights. Human space would remain independent, with Council vessels needing permission to enter. Humanity's fleet would work with Council forces but remain under human command, and perhaps most importantly, humanity would have the right to conduct independent operations without Council oversight, as long as they did not break established galactic law. The signing ceremony was held on a neutral station. Representatives from all Council species were present. Admiral Carter led the human delegation, with Daniel Hayes standing beside her in his formal ambassador clothes. Supreme Coordinator Talmar approached them before the ceremony began. His colors showed a mix of respect and remaining unease. Admiral, Ambassador, I want to say something before we make this official. The Council treated your petition 4 months ago with less respect than it deserved. We allowed pride and assumptions to cloud our judgment. I cannot undo that mistake, but I can acknowledge it. Helen met his gaze steadily. Coordinator, we all make mistakes. The measure of wisdom is how we respond to them. You are responding by changing the terms, by acknowledging that equal partnership serves everyone better than hierarchy. That takes courage. Or perhaps desperation, Talmar said with what might have been a smile. You made your point quite effectively, Admiral. Several council members are still nervous about what else humanity might be hiding. We are hiding plenty, Helen said honestly. Every species is. But what we are not hiding is our commitment to defending innocence, opposing tyranny, and standing by our allies. If that makes people nervous, they might want to ask themselves why. The ceremony itself was formal and brief. Daniel signed the membership documents on behalf of Earth's government. Admiral Carter signed the military cooperation agreements. Council representatives from 29 species added their marks. When it was done, the Keeper approached the human delegation privately. You handled this well, the ancient being said. Many species, when given power, seek to dominate. You sought only to be respected. That is rare. We had good teachers, Helen replied. Our own history taught us the costs of domination and the value of equality. We will not forget those lessons. See that you do not. Power has a way of corrupting memory, but I believe you will remember. You are young, but you are wise in ways that matter. As the ceremony ended and the various delegations began to leave, Captain Jacob Pierce approached Helen. Admiral, the fleet commanders want to know what happens now. Do we come out of hiding? Helen thought about it. Partially. We keep our security protocols and our hidden assets. But yes, we can operate more openly now. The Council knows we are more capable than we first appeared. Let us show them what being our ally means, rather than our observer. Over the following months, humanity's presence in the galaxy became more visible, but still carefully managed. Human ships began joint operations with Council forces. human technology started being shared selectively with allied species. The pirate bands that had attacked the Outer Rim found themselves facing combined human council patrols. Trade routes became safer. Disputes that had lasted for years suddenly found solutions as human mediators, backed by surprisingly detailed survey data, proposed creative answers. Captain Linda Shaw of the Defiant found herself working alongside a Malari cruiser on border patrol. The Malari captain, a veteran named Torval, was initially doubtful. "Your ship's abilities exceed what our intelligence reported," he observed during a joint operation. "We believe in exceeding expectations," Linda replied with a slight smile. "It is something of a cultural trait." "I am beginning to understand that. Tell me, Captain Shaw, how did humanity develop such advanced stealth technology so quickly?" "Who said it was quick? We have been working on it for decades. We just did not tell anyone. That must have taken remarkable discipline. To develop such abilities in secret, to keep the secret for so long." "It was not lying, Captain. It was survival. When you are new to a neighborhood and unsure who your friends are, you do not show everyone where you keep your valuables." Torvald's skin colors shifted to show understanding. "And now? Now that you are part of the council? Now we show our friends what we can do, but we still keep some things private. Trust is earned, not granted, even among allies." The Malari captain paused, then showed colors of respect. "Your species is wise beyond its years, Captain Shaw. I think the council is fortunate you chose to join us after all. We are fortunate you gave us a second chance. Not everyone gets one." Back on Earth, Daniel Hayes stood with Helen Carter on an observation deck overlooking the planet. Below them, the lights of cities sparkled against the darkness. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Daniel asked. "Accepting membership?" "I think we did the necessary thing," Helen replied. "We made our point. We showed them we do not need them. Now we can work with them from a position of strength." "That is all we really wanted." "Some people think we should have stayed independent, built our own alliance, separate from the council." "Some people always think that. But isolation is not strength. It is just loneliness with better public relations. We are stronger as part of something larger, as long as we are not consumed by it." "And if they try to control us again?" Helen smiled slightly. "Then we have 300 ships they know about, and twice that many they do not. And we have proven we can vanish whenever we choose. That tends to make people think twice about pushing too hard." Daniel laughed. "So the fleet is still out there? The hidden assets?" "Of course. We joined the council. We did not become naive. Trust is earned, and we will verify it every step of the way." "You know," Daniel said thoughtfully, "the Keeper told me something after the ceremony. It said that humanity's real test is not joining the council. It is what we do after a generation passes and new leaders forget what it was like to be dismissed and mocked. The Keeper is right. Power without memory is dangerous. That is why we need to make sure every future generation understands this. We were once the species that was laughed at. We chose to respond with skill rather than anger. That is the legacy we need to keep." They stood in silence for a moment, watching their world turn beneath them. "The council ridiculed Earth," Daniel said quietly. "By dawn, humanity's fleets had vanished without a trace. And by sunset," Helen added, "humanity had shown the galaxy what it means to underestimate the quiet ones, not with threats or violence, but with ability and dignity. Do you think they will remember that? They will remember because we will remind them every day, not through words, but through actions. We will be the species that helps when others cannot, that stands firm when others waver, that keeps its word and expects the same from others. We will be what we always wanted them to see us as, equals worthy of respect." Daniel nodded. "And if they forget, Helen's expression grew serious. Then we will have 300 visible ships and 600 invisible ones to remind them why they made us their allies instead of their problem. We gave them a choice. They made the wise decision. As long as they honor that, we will honor it too. Far out in the darkness between stars, the Wanderer drifted silently. Captain Kevin Turner watched distant galaxies through his viewports. His ship was one of dozens that operated in the shadows, unknown even to most of humanity's government. "Captain," his communications officer said, "encrypted message from Earth Command. Orders to maintain current operations. Status permanent deep cover." Kevin nodded. The world had changed. Humanity had joined the Council, had become part of the galactic community. But some lessons, once learned, were never forgotten. They had been mocked. They had been dismissed. They had been underestimated. Never again. Not because they sought revenge, but because they had learned that respect was not given freely. It was earned through ability, kept through strength, and secured through the willingness to walk away if necessary. Humanity had walked away from the Council's mockery. They had vanished into the darkness and shown what they could become without oversight. And when they returned, it was on their own terms, as equals, as partners, as allies who chose to help rather than being forced to submit. The Galactic Council had learned a valuable lesson. The species you mock today might be the ally you need tomorrow, and if you are fortunate, they will be gracious enough to give you a second chance. Humanity had been that gracious, but they would never be that vulnerable again. The stars stretched endlessly before the Wanderer, full of possibility and promise. And somewhere in that vastness, hundreds of human vessels moved unseen, unknown, ready. Not for war, but for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. They had been underestimated once. They had turned that underestimation into advantage, mockery into strength, dismissal into independence, and the galaxy was better for it. Because sometimes the best response to being laughed at is not anger. It is excellence. Humanity had chosen excellence. And in doing so, they had changed not just their own fate, but the nature of the Council itself. The quiet ones had spoken, not with words, but with action. And the galaxy was listening. In 6 hours, that would change forever.